My name is Aditi Das. I am a garden coordinator at Links for Greener Learning. Also, as a council member of Next Niagara, I hereby welcome you all to another episode of We Are Next. Today, let's talk about self-care. And to do that, I'm in conversation with a renowned guest who has trained more than 3,500 staff across more than 30 agencies. Please welcome Laura Hughes. So, hello Laura.
Hi Aditi, how are you today?
I'm good, I'm really good. How are you doing?
Doing well. I'm looking forward to the conversation and all the questions and chatting together about self-care.
Yeah, definitely. Let's start that. So how about we start with an introduction? So what is self-care and why do you think it is important in our daily life?
I think what's so interesting about self-care is that we all get ideas of what it is from how it's been presented to us through, whether it's through our family, through our workplace, through the media being a huge one. And so we've got some ideas of how it's presented to us, but it's really interesting to start reflecting on what it actually means to each of us as individuals.
Right.
Caring for ourselves, supporting ourselves is one of the most powerful things we can do, in addition to that collective care of supporting one another and building that culture where we're all supporting each other and our own needs at the same time.
Yeah.
And we've chatted about this before around how self-care is presented to us. And I always bring up the spa day. What are some of the first things you think of with how self-care gets presented to us?
I think it has always been like advertisements with women going to spas or holidays and vacations, but it has mostly been a product. It has always been advertised as a product. But do you think self-care can also be beyond just a product?
100%. And I love that you brought up the idea of, we usually see women in these advertisements. It's typically that they're purchasing a product. They're being told to, buy this and then you'll feel a certain way, the spa day, luxurious vacation. And it's nothing that there's individually something wrong with, like having the bath or a spa day or vacation. Those are great. And it's thinking about what might self-care be when it starts from our inner world, checking in on how am I feeling today? What might I need? And maybe that's, as we're chatting, drinking water, hydrating, right? We've got our water. Yes, exactly. It could be during my workday that I'll stand up and stretch every hour on the hour to give my body that refresh, to feel present and grounded. It could be calling a friend. And we'll get into some of those examples through our conversation. But I wanted to have folks start to think about what self-care can look like that's small and simple, that are things you do ongoing, versus I think a lot of us are in that loop of just keep going, just get through the workday, just get to the weekend, and then I'll do something nice for myself or relax. Versus what are some small things I can do throughout my day is how I think we can frame self-care a little differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. So, given this condition of the COVID-19, the situation is pretty unpredictable. A lot of people feeling anxious about it, and there's a lot of uncertainty going around. So many people I know, they usually feel more comfortable and also more accomplished when they finish their professional to-dos compared to finishing their household chores or household works. But what would you think that how can these individuals get out of that feeling of not feeling productive enough? Not feeling that I haven't done so much in my day has been wasted, or I'm not useful anymore. So how do you think they can cope with this feeling?
It's such a great question, because I think every single person is navigating this. And so many of us were navigating feeling exactly what you've described, even before COVID. So even before this happened, we've already had this very productivity driven culture. What did you do? What did you accomplish today? And it almost feeling really pressuring to keep up with that, right? And then self-care is like you have to earn it by doing things on your list. And I think that's where the topic of self-care and our productivity comes together. So I love that you've asked this question, because it can start us thinking about now during this time, like you shared, it's uncertain, a lot of anxiety, each of us in our individual lives navigating, maybe supporting parents, colleagues, being essential workers in the front line. Each of us have different circumstances and are all experiencing this uncertainty and anxiety collectively.
Yes.
And the first thing I think is so, so powerful and important is to first validate for ourselves, we will not be able to produce and do and work at the same level we were 6 weeks ago before this became our reality.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Right? It's really shifting our own expectations of ourselves. And that's where I think compassion and kindness for ourselves can be our number one self-care tool of, I've been repeating to myself, I'm doing my best today. If my best today is getting one thing on the list done versus tomorrow able to do 3, validating that one is not better or worse than the other. This is navigating a really difficult time. Yeah. And it's not about being productive. It's about being present with how and what I can do on an individual day.
Yeah, definitely. And if I understand you correctly, it's also about doing the best in whatever you do. So even if I'm, let's say, washing my clothes, getting my dishes done, I would love to do it in the best possible way, maybe get creative with it and find, a self-satisfaction in it. Mm-hmm. Because not necessarily we might all have a job at the moment. Some might be losing their jobs. Some might be restricted due to poor accessibilities or other limited resources. So I totally understand and I agree with your point. Yeah. What about the young parents or the young parents who are working from home and who are trying to get that work-life balance because now they don't have an office outside the home. So now it's everything inside the home. They have their family, children, their professional to-dos. So how do they find a work-life balance while staying at home?
Mm-hmm. First step, similar of bringing in that compassion. I've been reminding so many parents that I support will be bringing up these questions of like, how do I find work-life balance? And we'll laugh that work-life balance, again, before it was difficult to find. And now we've added 14 different things on top of it. And we have to almost take that pause and say, okay, hold on, regroup. We're being expected now to do things that were totally out of realm before. Mm-hmm. With our own anxieties, uncertainties, mental health that we're navigating, and our children's and parents and community members and our neighbors, and now trying to work for many who are working from home and homeschooling their kids in the same space, first acknowledging that there's no way to do this perfectly. There's no perfect, there's no right way. And it's taking that pause to say, okay, what is the main thing? If I could get one thing done really well today, and what would I be really pleased to be able to do by the end of today? And maybe the next day, the question is, what feels possible today? I've got, maybe there's, back-to-back sessions on work. They've got a couple Zoom sessions happening. Maybe that's a day that we ease up a little bit more on the homeschooling and allow for play, that our kids are learning so much through play and exploration and different forms of learning versus, we got to do every single thing that's on the list and online learning and have them on the screen all day. And it's doing what works best, right? And taking that self-judgment that's so easy to put on ourselves in those roles. And so many young parents that I'll chat with, because the expectation, like your previous question is, well, I just want to be productive and get it all done and do it perfectly. And there's no way to be realistic, to do everything exactly the way we hope we could do it during this time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you. How about, like on a similar note, but how about scheduling? How to deal with scheduling? Because I know a lot of people, also my friends, they love to stay engaged in outdoor physical activities or sports. And usually, before the times of COVID-19, I always heard that, if I would get some more time, I would have had a routine and I would go exercise, do more swimming and all sort of things that could have kept you physically active. And now that we have all that time, but people are actually finding it hard to incorporate that into a routine, or even once they start, it's hard to maintain the routine. Not because it's anyway hard to maintain a routine, but more because of the anxiety and the insecurities that's kind of lingering around. So what suggestions would you have for them?
Mhm. And I love that you brought up first with talking about the routine and then linking it to it's hard to maintain something even if we find ourselves with more time because of those anxieties.
Exactly.
And those feelings want to be felt. And that's also a learning curve for so many of us navigating our mental health, our wellness, and our families, where if we're thinking about, okay, it would be really good if I move my body each day or go for that walk, or now I have more time, I can do this, or the weather's getting warmer, if it's still safe to be, doing the bike ride with the mask, right? There's all these ideas people are coming up with, but the follow through is really difficult with that. So two things to share on that. The first would be offering yourself some space to feel the feelings that you're having, even being able to name them of, yeah, I'm feeling really scattered today. I'm feeling, okay, I want to check in. Yeah, a lot of overwhelm, just feeling like I can't do it. And this is a lot. Even naming that is really powerful because many of us are in that just keep going mentality. And again, like the productivity, oh, I have to get this done, or I have to get the homeschooling, then the 3 Zoom meetings, then this. Taking that pause just to feel the emotion or name it is really powerful as well,
Yeah.
which may leave more space for then bringing in some of those simple and small routines. So if we think of self-care as some simple and small actions we can add into our days that will support us and sustain us during this time, instead of it being, okay, here's my Monday to Friday, everything needs to be perfectly scheduled. It could be having that list of here's a few things that can be really helpful. Maybe it's Wednesday nights or board game nights with your family.
Yeah.
And every week we can look forward to that, and it's some fun and it's a routine, but doesn't feel strict or making us have to be in productivity mode and do everything. So a little bit of routine is very helpful right now with that balance of not making it a necessity. Because maybe one day you wake up and thinking, okay, I plan to go for the run, and we had talked about how both our bodies are feeling just physically exhausted right now when we were first connecting.
Yeah.
Again, right? It's saying, oh, no, that's not going to feel good for me today. It's going to feel good.
Yeah.
Or playing with my kids, and maybe we do the board game where I could be sitting up in a chair that's comfortable while we're playing so my back can feel better. And those are some of those ways of just, it sounds simplistic, but doing those check-ins of just how am I feeling and what do I need in this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. I totally understand this because I'm trying to listen to my body signals and signs that, okay, it's time to pause. All right. Well, I would love to continue chatting with you on self-care, but because we have a little time crunch, I would ask you one final question before we go. So, do you think self-care can be practiced in a workplace? And if yes, what might be some of the simple things that can be practiced by both employers as well as employees?
100%. Fantastic question. And I mean, just like all of it, we could chat for 5 to 6 hours on this topic. And that's the thing, there's so much to talk about with it. And I hope this can be that kind of opening up for folks who are listening and engaging and to dig deeper on their own as well. But certainly the first thing I think about for employers during this time is to be doing check-ins with employees of asking, how are you doing? Even sending a survey out of, if you're all working remotely from home, how are things going for you? What might support you during this time? And thinking as an organization, how can we be prioritizing our employees' mental health and care during this time? So for employers to literally ask employees, how are you navigating this? What might be helpful for us to provide for you? And both during COVID and outside of it, and before and after, and wherever we land with this, bringing that idea of the pause into our work days too. Some of us are in very fast-paced workplaces, or we self-impose some of it. Oh, I just got to get everything done before lunch, or here's my 9 things on the list. And sometimes it's taking that pause before sending the next email, before joining the next Zoom session to say, okay, it's going to take a moment, regroup. I finished that one task.
Yes.
Let that sit for a second before I start the next. And we don't see that as a self-care example because the bath bombs and the spa days are much more, seen in our media. But it's, again, those little check-ins of stopping to pause throughout your day to prioritize your needs as you're doing work for someone else. So that's kind of the balance that I can see during this time that both employees and employers can do. And certainly bringing someone in, and this is a bit of a shameless plug, but bringing someone in to do this work with an organization is something that myself and other practitioners are doing at this time to provide that support through an online means for employees.
Yeah, great. So you would mean we just need to breathe a bit.
Taking that moment.
Yeah. So do you have a simple technique of breathing that might ease and that might be easily done in a workplace?
Definitely. If we think about doing a belly breath, a lot of us tend to breathe from our chest versus from our diaphragm. And one of the ways to practice this is to put your hand gently kind of on your belly. And as you're breathing in, let your belly expand outwards. And then holding your breath at the top once you've inhaled. And then slowly exhaling. So it's called a belly breath. You can Google belly breath. You'll see a lot of really wonderful techniques. So I try in between tasks to just stop and do a couple of those and literally ask myself, how am I feeling in this moment? What can I do to support myself, whether it's in the moment or even anticipating, okay, once I finish these tasks tonight, this is something I'm going to do for myself, and that you're planning ahead for that care as well, while taking those moments to pause and just recalibrate our systems and our physical bodies that are carrying so much emotion right now.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate you sharing all these wonderful tips and effective plans that actually work for us. And I really thank you for taking the time out to talk to all of us and our viewers. Thank you so much for sharing it.
You're so welcome, Aditi. Thank you so much.
So friends, I hope you enjoyed this session and found some useful information to develop your own self-care regime. If you have further questions or would like to contact Laura Hughes, please follow the link below. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more episodes of We Are Next.